Meanwhile, just going back to the general broader campaign, a lot of polling this week is giving us a good indication of where U.S. voter sentiment is. According to a new survey, Donald Trump leads Biden in all but one of the crucial battleground states that will likely decide the 2024 rematch. Now, I'm always a little skeptical of polls because they all have to, it all happens on the day. What's your read on this? Is this solidifying for Trump, or are there dangers out there that maybe we're not seeing by looking at just those headline numbers and not diving into the crosstabs or the internal polls that each party is getting?
Yeah, James, it could be a little bit of both. It could be a solidification, but there could also be things out there. What do these polls show us that has value? They have value in that they are the swing state polls. And you and I have talked about many times on this show, those are the ones to look at when it comes to American presidential election. National polls are generally worthless because we do not have a nationwide election. We do it state by state. So this is the right place to be looking, these swing states, and the numbers are good for Trump. I'm with you. I sort of think, you know what? I don't pay much attention to the top line numbers. What I'm looking for day in and day out is trends. And what has happened is Biden got a little bit of a bump after the State of the Union address in all of the states that were mentioned in this particular set of surveys. But Trump has now come back. So the momentum has swung back to Biden. To Trump. Biden got a little bit of a bump after a good State of the Union speech, but it sounds like Trump is moving now to solidify a small but regular lead in these critical swing states.
Yeah, and one of the things when you dive into the details of that poll is that 63% of the voters in swing states called the U.S. economy, said it is either in a not so good or a poor condition. Now, really, you would know from working on a million campaigns in your life that it's really economics that decide for so many people what happens on the day they decide to vote. I mean, what was it Reagan said? Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
And of course, it gets attributed to Bill Clinton, but it's actually one of his advisors, the famous Cajun from Louisiana, James Carville, who said, what's the most important issue? It's the economy, stupid. And that's sort of been ingrained now in American politics for the last 30 years or so. But Mr. Carville was right 95% of the time. What the Democrats have a problem with is right now is the top issue is the economy, which is bad for them, as your polling just showed. A near second to that is the border and immigration, which they're really, really bad on. And then you've got crime and safety, which they're really, really bad on. So you have to go fairly deep down into the issues that people say is important to them until you find a topic that the Democrats are actually winning on. That's a formula for losing, not just to the presidency, but up and down the ticket. Now, granted, there's always going to be outliers and racists and so forth, but right now, the way the issues are lining up is very, very favorable to Republicans across the board, not just Donald Trump.
Yeah, and now this, another element of this too is that there's other polls that are now showing that support among Black and Hispanic voters for the Democrats is generally starting to tank. Now, these have always been solidly Democrat voting blocs. What's happening here? And is this just sort of a bit of an expression in the polls that we won't see on Election Day? We have seen this trend before with Trump, and it hasn't really fully played out. What is your read on it? And is it that some of these issues like the economy, like migration and the pressures that that's putting on, urban areas and cities and lower income areas, is that pushing some of these numbers?
James, I'm on a television program every week here in the United States with a bunch of Democrats. We have a sort of a panel discussion every single night. And this is one of the polls that frightens them the most because it feels like it's real. The trend lines, again, come back to the trend lines. In 2016, Donald Trump pulled about 6% of the African-American vote. Not very much, a little bit better than Mitt Romney had done prior, but 6%, that's about normal for Republicans in this country. In 2020, he pulled 12. Double what he had in 2016. Right now, he's polling at 22 to 25% amongst African Americans. That's a huge swing. But again, it's the trend that we look at, and it looks like he's trending positively with African American voters. They are critical voters, James, because ordinarily when voters get upset with their party, they just don't vote. They very rarely vote for the other party. You don't actually get them to swing from one party to the other. Yeah. But if Black Americans start moving from Democrat to Republican, that counts actually as 2 votes against the Democrats. And that's a real, real problem for them. And they know it.
Finally, I wanted to get your thoughts on one other poll I saw this week. It's a very concerning one to me that revealed amongst what they call the politically obsessed elite, 69% would condone cheating if it meant that their candidate won. Now, this group is mainly well-educated urbanites who believe Joe Biden is doing a great job. Is this an indication that there's something kind of wrong and askew with our political class in the U.S.?
This poll just came out fairly recently, and it's driving a lot of debate right now in this country as to who the real threat to democracy is. And it sounds like it's the urban elites. It's not Trump. It's not the Republicans, maybe not even Biden, the Democrats. It's this particular group of people, because that number is stunning. I'd be curious to see what it is across the board in this country. But that's the elites being the elites, which is essentially, we know better than you. So if you want to take us one way, maybe we'll allow that a couple times, but we're not going to allow that permanently. We've seen this at a global level, most specifically in Europe. This is what elites do. It's do as I say, not as I do. And if you don't do as I say, then I'm still going to make you do that anyway. So that doesn't surprise me. It is discouraging to me, but I do not think the broader country is anywhere near that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty disturbing, though. We're going to have to leave it there. Mick Mulvaney, thanks as always for your time.